Once upon a time, on the island of Crete, there lived a group of armed and crested dancers known as the Korybantes or Korybantes in Phrygia. They were famous for their worship of the Phrygian goddess, Cybele, through drumming and dancing. The Korybantes were believed to have originated from Crete, and according to Greek mythology, they were the sons of Zeus and the nymphs. The Korybantes were known for their fierce and wild dances, which were used to invoke the power and presence of the gods. Their worship was based on the belief that the gods could be summoned through music and dance, and the Korybantes were the masters of this art. They were often depicted wearing helmets, swords, and shields, while their dances were accompanied by tambourines, castanets, and cymbals. One of the most popular myths involving the Korybantes was their involvement in the upbringing of Zeus. The legend states that Rhea, the mother of Zeus, sent the infant to the island of Crete to be raised by the Korybantes, who protected him from his father, Cronus, who had a habit of devouring his own children. The Korybantes were said to have danced around the infant, banging their shields and playing their instruments to drown out his cries and keep him hidden. Their worship of Sibley was also linked to the story of Attis, a handsome young man who was castrated and died at the feet of Cybele, his lover. The Korybantes were said to have danced around his dead body in a frenzy, mourning his passing and celebrating his rebirth as a pine tree. In conclusion, the Korybantes were an integral part of the Phrygian and Greek mythological tradition, known for their wild dances and fierce devotion to the gods. Their worship of Cybele and their involvement in the upbringing of Zeus are considered among their most famous and enduring myths. In ancient Greece, dance was considered an essential activity for civilizing society. Along with winemaking and music, dance was one of the vital activities Greeks had. Dance played an essential role in the transition of boys into manhood in Cretan cities. Among these dances, the dance in armor was a significant rite of passage ritual for boys to become men. This dance was typically male-only, and it was linked with the celebration of a warrior's victory. Performers wearing armored gear kept the rhythm with a drum and by stamping their feet. The Curetes and Cretan Zeus, known as the greatest Kouros, had an essential role in this dance. Scholars Jane Ellen Harrison and Henri Jeanmaire noted that the Pyrrhic dance, known in English as a corruption of the original Pyrrhic or the Pyrrhikios Koros, Pyrrhician dance, had no connection with the king Pyrrhus of Epirus who invaded Italy in the 3rd century BC and gave his name to the Pyrrhic victory. This victory was achieved at such a monumental cost that it was equivalent to a defeat. Long ago in ancient Greece, there were a group of men called the Phrygian Korybantes. They were known for their ecstatic behavior and were often grouped with other similar groups such as the Idaean Dactyls and the Cretan Curetes. The Korybantes were guardians and protectors, and they presided over the infancy of various gods like Dionysus and Zagreus, who were both born as infants. There is a story about Dionysus's birth that involves the Cretan Curetes. According to Hesiod's account of Zeus's birth, great Gaia came to Crete and hid the infant Zeus in a steep cave beneath the secret places of the earth, on Mount Aegaeon. The Cretan Curetes' ritual clashing of spears and shields were interpreted as intended to drown out the infant god's cries, and prevent his discovery by his cannibalistic father Cronus. Among the offerings recovered from the cave were decorated bronze shields with patterns that were inspired by North Syrian originals, and a bronze gong on which a god and his attendants were shown in a distinctly Near Eastern style. The Curetes' wild and ecstatic cult can be compared to the female Maenads who followed Dionysus. Ovid, in his Metamorphoses, suggests that the Curetes were born from rainwater, which hints at a connection with the Hyades. The Korybantes were known as protectors of the gods and were essential to their survival. Their behavior was often described as wild and ecstatic, and they were seen as powerful and dangerous when protecting the gods. Overall, the Phrygian Korybantes were an interesting group of men who played an essential role in ancient Greek mythology. The Curetes, ancient mythical creatures, were known not just for their role as guardians of infant Zeus, but also for their ability as primitive magicians and seers. They were skilled metalworkers who believed that metallurgy was a near-magical art. Several tribes of the Curetes existed, including the Cybele, Korybantes euboioi, and Korybantes samothrakioi. Hoplodamos and his gigantes were counted among their ranks, and Titan Enitos was considered a Crete. Interestingly, even Homer referred to young men as Curetes. In fact, Agamemnon instructed Odysseus to pick out the bravest among the Achaeans to bear gifts to Achilles. It is fascinating to note that the Greeks believed that the Curetes of Aetolia and Acarnania on the mainland had been imported from Crete, a tradition that was preserved until Strabo's day. Despite being a myth, the Curetes left a lasting legacy in Greek culture as protectors of the infant Zeus and skilled metal craftsmen.
Do you want to explore more Greek mythology stories? Who do you want to see featured next? Subscribe and leave a comment below to let me know. I'll see you in the next video.